The next option is paint trick. This tool allows you to have a better control over your brush strokes. Let me go to the example. We double click on the layer and create the brush strokes. For example, I write a text. Well, we return to the composition window, select the layer and click on paint trick. We go to effect controls to explain its settings. Start is for animating the brush stroke from the beginning, and end for animating them from the end. So these are very clear. We don't explain interpolation right now. First we explain these two options and then go to interpolation. Color A sets the color of first brush stroke. For example, my first brush is this, so I set it to pink. And color B sets the color of the last brush, which I set to orange. But the color of the last brush don't change. Why? Because the mode of interpolation is set to constant. Constant causes paint trick to specify color A for all your brushes. For the last brush turns orange, we use the next mode, ramp. You see, when I choose the ramp, my last brush will be in color B and the first brush in color A. And the middle brush is a color spectrum between the two colors. Well, the next option is diameter A. Diameter A specifies the size of the first brush. As you see, it sets the size of the first brush to high or low, and this one sets the size of the last brush. Well, we go back to interpolation. Constant was defined. We said that this option specifies for all brushes color A and diameter A. Ramp specifies color A and diameter A for the first brush, color B and diameter B for the last, and a ratio between the two A and B colors and sizes for the middle brushes. The next mode is triangle that sets the first and last brushes to color A and the middle brush to color B, and the color of the brushes between them will change relative to these two colors. The next option is ease. Ease allows you to set the mode to the range of colors and sizes between the first and last brushes. So let me set this to 20 and this to 60. Well, the linear specifies a linear mode for it. The ease mode sets the range softer. It means that the sizes of my brushes softly ranges from low to high. Ease in mode uses more diameter A and color A for the brushes and less color B and diameter B. And ease out, unlike ease in, uses more color B and diameter B. As you see, we have two oranges and it applies more the size of diameter B. The last option is reverse, which reverses the color A and B and the size of your brushes. Well, the next option is looper. This tool allows you to loop your animations. In this example, I create a layer and animated this position, and now I wanna loop this animation. So I select the position and click looper. As you can see, when you apply the looper, your property turns red. It means that they are coded. And also in effect controls, an effect called looper is created. At the beginning, two options are shown. One is the in and the other one out, that both have similar settings. In implies that the loop operation of the animation will be performed before the keyframes, that's in this time span. But the out will perform the loop operation after the keyframes, that's in this time span. Well, let me deactivate the out option. As you can see, now the loop operation is performed before the keyframes, because only in option is active. But nothing happens after keyframes. And also reversely for out. After is looped, but not before. So I bring the keyframes to the first frame and deactivate the in option, and then let's go to the other options. Well, generally there are 4 types of loops that the looper effect very simply provides us in the drop down menu, and I'll explain each one. The first option is cycle. It implies that my animation is played up here and the next frame is again starts from the beginning. The next one is offset. The offset repeats the exact animation that I've created and continues it. As you see, the animation of the circle goes on up here. And from here on, it's like the start point of the animation of the circle is here. So again, it goes on up the stairs. It goes up endlessly. So the next one is ping pong. The ping pong will play the loop, then backtrack to the beginning of the loop, and on it goes, like a ping pong ball. The last one is the continue. This option continues the last speed of the last keyframe of your animation. As you can see, it endlessly goes forward, and the last move of the animation is straight, so it continues to move straightly. For example, if the last move of the animation is in this direction, the circle goes to the end to that direction. Number of keyframes also specify how many moves from the end of your animation will be looped. For example, when the number of keyframes option is 0, it means that all the animation of the layer is looped. But if I want the last move, that's from here to here, to loop in a ping pong mode, I set it to 1. Look how it works. If you want the last 2 moves to be looped, you set it to 2. Let's go to the example to explain how effective these loops work. So this is the car that I wanna loop its animation. Let me make it red. And these are the 2 tires. Well, I've parented these 2 tires to the car, and I wanna move this car from the right to the left. First I put this out of the scene. It moves from here in 2 seconds. And then I want this animation to be repeated again. To be repeated again, it's now clear to you which loop you should use. The cycle is the best option. And also you can make an automatic rotation for the tires using the wheel tool. To do this, select the layers and use the wheel option to make the tires rotate relative to the movement of your car. We simply created this animation with the 2 tools of the Uke. Let's go to the next example for the offset option. Let me place the anchor point of the layer here. I set the sweep second hand on 12. So let's start animating. Well, we create a keyframe. I go 5 frames forward and bring the second hand on the minute 5. Then again I go 5 frames forward and copy this keyframe again so that the second hand goes on to work like a real clock. To do this, we select the rotation and then click the looper and choose the offset from the type option. Look how it's works. Its pause is a bit low, so let's increase the distance between the 2 keyframes. Let's go to the next loop, that's the continue. So I add a keyframe for the rotation of this layer. 10 frames forward, I set it to 90 degrees. Well, if I apply loop to the rotation as the cycle loop is choice, it will have repeated jumps and won't be looped properly. But if I choose the continue loop and easy is this keyframe, the fan blades will act as if the fan starts working and speeds up slowly. And after reaching the second keyframe, it continues the same speed. Let me set my keyframes closer together so that it gets faster and looks more natural. Well, let's go to the ping pong loop. It's also clear. I put its anchor point at the center of the clock and first set its rotation here and create a keyframe, and then bring it here and add another keyframe, and then easy is the 2 keyframes to move better. Now I select the rotation, click on the loop and choose ping pong from the loop option. And as you can see, that's very simple. Let's go to the last panel of rigging, that's tool. In this panel we have 3 tools. The first tool is for naming. Let's click on it and go to its setting. The first option determines what you're going to rename, the layers, pin puppets, or project items that are in the project window. Well, we first choose the layers. Let's skip the opted expression, so I'll explain it later. Here we have different tools. For example, now all my layers are named shape. I want to rename all layers and name them vector. So I write it in this section and click rename. As you see, all layers are renamed as vector. Now I want, apart from renaming, is also to add 1, 2, 3 and 4 to the end of the names. So I type here vector space dash space, check the number from 1 and again click rename. You see, while naming as vector, it also numbers them. The other function of this tool is that you can, while keeping your layer name, add a word to its beginning. For example, I type here small and space and click rename. As you see, small is added to them all, or you can add it to the end of the names of the layers. Let me delete this so it won't be applied again. For example, layer, I add a space at the beginning, so I want it to be apart from shape by a space. As you can see, the layer is added to the end of the names. There are two other options here. One is remove the first and the other remove the last. Let me add layer to the end of the names of the layers. For example, now I want only layer to be removed from the layers names. To do this, in remove the last, we type the number of this letter. That's 5 plus with a space 6. So I type 6 here and also delete this one and rename. As you see, it's removed. Or for example, we want to remove 1 or 2 letters from the beginning. For example, I type 1. You see it is removed from their names. Well, to explain about opted expressions, let me parent the rotation of this layer to that of the upper layer and name its star to be known. You see the name of my layer appears here. Now, if I change the beginning of this layer's name, you see the name of my layer will change here too. But if I set up the expression on don't update expression mode, the name of my layer will no longer change in the expression. Look here, the name of the layer changes, but it doesn't change the expression and such an error occurs. So it's the best mode to be on update expressions. Well, the next option is pins. Now, for example, I create a layer. I create pin puppets for it and select its pin puppets. Put their names pin here and click rename. You see the name were changed. So this option is for renaming pin puppets and this one for renaming project items. For example, here I only have one comp. I duplicate it 5 times, select them all and put their names pin, and then click rename. As you see, their names changed. The next option in Tools panel is Search and Replace. You can type a text here to be searched and replaced by the second text you type here. Well, the first option we have is expressions. What does it mean? It means any text you type here will be searched in the expressions and will be replaced by the next text you type here. For example, I've typed timecode for the rotation of these objects to rotate continuously. Now, in my opinion, the rotation speed is a bit slow, so I wanna double their speed. To double the speed, I have to change them to 100 one by one. But this option makes our task so easy. First, we select the expressions. Active comp means that the search will be based on this comp, where the layers are, and the other comps won't be searched. If you select all comps, it will search all the comps inside your project. Well, we don't need it, so we select active comp. Here you can specify whether the expressions of all the layers inside this comp are searched, or only those of the layers you select. We choose all layers. The case sensitive option means that it's sensitive to uppercase and lowercase letters when searching. But the case insensitive means that it's not sensitive to uppercase and lowercase letters and only searches based on the letters themselves. Well, we set case sensitive mode. We want to double the rotation speed of these layers. So we type here 50 and 100 here. Now if I click replace, all 50s will be searched and replaced by 100. As you see, all are changed to 100 and their speed will increase. Yet the speed is slow, so you can increase it more. Well, this was for expression. You can do the same for text too. For example, I type a text here, then I bring it in the middle of the scene. Now, for example, I want to replace is, so I type is and add was as its replacement here. As you see, it searches is and replaces it by was. The same process takes place for the right to left texts. Well, we enter Duke Basil. For example, I type the last word here and its replacement here. As you see, it will be replaced easily. So this was for text, and this is for layers. That's clear. For example, the name of this layer is shape, and I want to replace the names of the layers I've selected. For example, these two layers. So that shape is replaced by vector. Well, the replacement failed. Why? Because shape has an uppercase S and we typed a lowercase s. So I change it to an uppercase and click replace. As you see now its name is replaced. You can also replace the name in project items. For example, I type here com and here shapes.com and click replace. You see its name is replaced. Here you can specify whether folders will be searched or not, footage will be searched or only composition. You can select or deselect these items. So the next option, measure distance, is used to measure the distance between two objects, and we talked about it and how it's used in our discussion about the wheel tool.